I do like how you structured because I'll kind of break this into the pod. This is the first time that I did not set up the show sheet. You set up this show sheet and you did a great job doing it. But the one thing that is messing me up here is I've always alphabetically sorted the teams. And I like the way you did it because it means we're going to be going in a little more of like an up-down trajectory. When I sorted it
Yep.
alphabetically, it always tended to be like you start like pretty good and end really bad, or you start really bad and end really good. But this is a little more mixy matchy, and I like that. But let's move on to a little more of an exciting team with the Jacksonville Jaguars because they've got a guy in Trevor Lawrence. He is, as you put it here, hot. He is yes, I mean kind of not really disputable. He is quite hot.
I
That
mean,
long flowing blonde hair, he looks like Thor out there.
$20 is $20. I'm not gonna dispute that.
Hey man, if I'm saying, if Trevor Lawrence wanted to give me a kiss on the cheek, I'm not gonna say no. Uh, but so yeah, I mean this team really took a step forward last year. Trevor Lawrence really came out there and played in the playoffs and had a record-setting comeback against the Chargers, which was awesome and terrible for the Chargers and their forever cursed franchise, and that sucks for them. But Trevor Lawrence is good, I think. I think he's shown that now, and he gets Calvin Ridley, which is
Yeah.
nice. So yeah, I mean, he is kind of firmly planted into that elite seven that we talked about last week for quarterbacks in a dynasty startup. How high do you have him in that elite seven, though?
Yeah. I would say this is just shooting off the cuff. I would have to probably read what my last article was, but I think I firmly have him top 6 to 7. At the same time, his ability at the goal line is only matched by Jalen Hurts. There's a specific play that I think of where he snapped the ball and he dunked it like he was Joel Embiid, like just literally over the top, like a grown man among kindergartners.
He's so
So
long, dude. He's a really long dude.
that is a heck of a sentence, but he is he's an athlete that can also support 2 to 3 pass catchers, that can also take pictures for Maybelline. So there's nothing not to like about T-Law. The only issue is the Jaguars still have a little bit of a funk around him, but Doug Peterson's clearing that up. The sky's the limit. I don't think he'll ever break into the top 3 situation, but he's firmly in the top 10 for the rest of his career. So what do you think? T-Law, up or down?
Totally feel that. Yeah, I think that the chances he breaks into the top 3 are pretty slim. Right now, I think he is going in that like 5, 6, 7 slot in like the dynasty startup scene, but I could see him being firmly planted into the 5 slot, especially if he, with Calvin Ridley implanted in there, I could see him taking a step forward, even more so than he did last year, which is kind of exciting to think about. I mean, you think about this guy, he went into the worst situation possible, I feel like, as a rookie QB, with Urban Meyer at the helm, kicking his kicker, and it's such a weird story. But yeah, I think that they're definitely doing things right over there. Dougie P is a coach that I believe in. I think he's a good coach. So yeah, I think that all signs are pointing up for the Jags. I like this question though, because when you look at these wide receivers, you were just saying he can support 3 of them. But the top 3 dogs here are Ridley and Christian Kirk and Zay Jones kind of on the side there, although Zay Jones had a pretty good year last year. In terms of these 3 guys, though, like, am I crazy for thinking that I still like Kirk out of the 3? Because I feel like Kirk's my guy to go to out of these guys.
I am just waiting for the time that we have a podcast that we disagree and we yell at each other. But in my mind, I almost think that it's Kirk and then it's Zay Jones / Ridley. Like, they are probably in the same tier for me. Ridley hasn't played ball for a couple of years. Even when he was playing in a bad offense with 0 other weapons. Their best weapon was Olamide Zaccheaus, which the fact I looked up how to pronounce his name should say enough.
Bravo.
I think it's Christian Kirk. And
Yeah.
then maybe it's Ridley. There's beat reporters saying that he moves different, but there's not a lot of precedent for guys that take 2 years off and then come back and dominate the league. I think he'll be a useful weapon, and that's good for T-Law. I don't think that he himself is worth where he's going in startups and in redraft right now. So it's Kirk.
Here's a thing about Ridley that's always kind of bugged me. I might need to fact check myself on this, but I thought I've looked it up before, and I think this is correct. His year where he was like wide receiver 5 one year, and I'm pretty sure that was like one of the last Julio Jones years. And so in my mind, I feel like that's like Julio Jones taking a lot of pressure away, opening up Calvin Ridley.
I agree. I think, do we remember that Juju Smith-Schuster was like the wide receiver 4 to 6 with Antonio Brown getting triple teamed every play?
Yeah.
Like if you think Ridley is a top 12 dynasty asset, go for it. I don't. So
yeah, I completely agree with you. Here's something that we might not agree on. Evan Ingram. I think besides Christian Kirk, I think Evan Ingram is the other guy I want in this receiving game. I don't think I really want Ridley or Zay Jones as much as I want either Christian Kirk or Evan Ingram. What do you think?
What are we paying for the tight end? So one of my enduring like dynasty tips for people is that if you're not getting Kelsey, Hawkinson, and like maybe Pitts and Andrews, obviously, but if you're not getting one of those top 3 to 4 guys, just don't pay up for him. And I think Ingram is in that, like, he's clearly the 5 to 9, but it's not worth paying up for him. Like, you're going to have to spend either an early second, maybe a late first, maybe you're going to have to give a every week start at wide receiver. Like, that's a whole mess of things you're going to dive into to get maybe a 1-year starter. I don't believe in tight ends other than the clear studs or the young guys and like, yeah, I'll shoot a third to you. What do you think with that? Like, you believe in Ingram?
I hear what you're saying. The tight end slot is definitely frustrating. I feel like though, if you are just missing tight end to go and possibly win your league, I think I would send a second, like a competing second to try to go get Evan Ingram. Maybe you can't buy him for that. I haven't really tried that hard yet. But if you're really just having that big empty hole in tight ends and you need a guy to go out there and win this year, I think Evan Ingram's going to have a pretty good year personally. So I would be okay with sending a second if you can get him for that. Maybe you can't, but that's kind of where I'm at. If he falls in a startup draft, he's another guy that I like to get, but like you said, paying up for one of those middling tight end guys, never a great idea in the grand scheme of things. But okay, moving on from the receiving game here. Do you want to talk a little bit of ETN? Because here you have Fantasy Pros. Fantasy Pros has him at RB7. Is that real?
That's RB7 for Dynasty. So that incorporates his age, that incorporates his longevity. So here are my thoughts with ETN. Did the coaching staff that is on staff now draft ETN?
No, that was a big Urban Meyer pick.
Did the coaching staff that is on staff now draft Tank Bigsby with a day 2 pick?
They sure did.
ETN ranked 22nd out of all running backs in his pass grade, which is something that PFF gives out. Tank Bigsby was a top 5% all time in target percentage out of college.
Ooh.
So it sounds like ETN just lost all passing down work. The guy's name is also Tank, so he can probably take goal line work and short yardage work. So I'm a little worried about ETN long term and as long as Tank is in the offense. But what do you think? Do you think ETN's the guy, or do you think that we should all be worried?
Well, here's the crazy thing, right, is that ETN was no slouch of a pass catcher either. They just straight up didn't use him like that last year. He never had a game where he had like more than 3 targets. It was actually a bet that I was joking around with Evan last year of making one that you could always bank on is if you found the ETN line at over 2.5 receptions in a game, you pound the over because he's going to get 3 almost every single time. It was exactly 3. So, that's not really great for his long-term profile for being the pass catcher, especially when they bring in a guy that excels at it like Tank Bigsby, who like you said, I think he had like a 15-16% target share in his last year. So that's awesome. 30 receptions. I'm looking right now. That's great. It's 5 more than I personally is like my benchmark. I want to see 25, and I'm looking at 30 right now, and I'm loving it. And this is Doug Peterson. Like I said, this is Doug Peterson we're talking about. He does this. He mixes in these running backs and gives them different roles. So, yeah, I think you do have to be a little scared. Look, I still like ETN. I think he's a good talent. I think they'll probably give him the majority of the carries. But, yeah, I wouldn't I wouldn't blame anyone for being like, this is a little scary for his total value in terms of the receptions that he can bring to the table.
Yeah, I don't even think it's the total receptions. I think it's a clear commitment from the coaching staff that they want to bring in a guy that can catch the ball and do something with the ball after the catch. ETN had a great receiving profile coming out of college because he had that chemistry with T-Law. And it's weird because it's still T-Law, it's still the design pass plays, but he's dropping them now. And I don't know what is happening that he has just forgotten how to do what his mainstay coming into the league was. But Bigsby comes in with this huge receiving profile from a bad offense. So if it's a good offense, I'm a little worried that Bigsby might take the lead role. And I'm going to say that out loud. It sounds scary to say, but ETN has the first round draft capital. The coaches are supposed to be committed to him. But I think Bigsby in 2024, 2025 could be the dude, not just a dude.
Okay. I want to say 2 things about what you just said, and then I think we need to move along here because I think those are all the talking points. But just to end on this, I think you can look back to last year and spot 2 games that have a glaring indication of what we're saying here about Tank Bigsby at least coming in there and being the pass catcher back is that JaMycal Hasty, the one game that ETN got hurt, I think it was week 12 or 13, played against the Ravens. JaMycal Hasty had 6 receptions, double what ETN ever had. And then there was a game later where I think ETN was even playing, but JaMycal Hasty had 5 receptions, which was, again, 2 more than ETN ever had. So I think that's, it's 2 games. But I think in those 2 games, you kind of see the picture being painted here where they want a guy that can do that for the team. And if they think Tank Bigsby is that, they spent a decent chunk of draft capital to get him, then, yeah, I think that is likely to happen. But the other thing is we have to remember here, ETN lost a whole year, okay? And he is coming up pretty soon here on either they're going to extend him or they're going to give him a new contract or they're going to franchise tag him. And I don't think that it's necessarily out of the cards that they just kind of let him go or trade him or something like that. So I don't think you're, as much as I want to disagree with you because I think it's more interesting podcast, I don't think I can necessarily disagree with you about the Tank Bigsby take here.